Hello, how are you guys doing? Shalom. So today I want to say we're going to talk about Native Americans and the troubles facing them, and really how it's facing all indigenous peoples for hundreds of years in this country and around through the colonization and the spread of the European seed. So we're gonna go first. We're gonna get into this. You might know about him. Russell Means is the co-founder of the American Indian Movement. So we're gonna go in his video first and watch him talk right now. I believe he's talking to the Congress on C-SPAN. So this is a 1989 speech. It's gonna lead us into certain stuff that we'll get into. Go into some articles and we'll go into some other videos. And we'll just showcase some of the stuff, disease, how they root you out of your land, how they classify you, count you, the diseases they gave you on purpose to destroy you. I mean, I can go on, but let's just cover what we have here because it's probably going to be a couple parts. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I should be sleeping. Oh well. Let's get it.
For my people, the American Indians of the United States of America. In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians. And that is created by the laws of this nation and condoned by its subsidiaries, the so-called tribal government, and designed for the Indian to fail, to be
Alright, I want to make a point first off. When we think of Native Americans, okay, now America is from Canada to South America, alright? So, but when we're talking about Native Americans, especially because in the Americas, North America, it was here too. We only talk about the Oriental, Asian looking, and the Mongoloid looking Native Americans. But there are many Native American Indian tribes. There was the African Indian tribes who stemmed from the Canaanites. There's videos on that shows researchers finding the oldest body in America and being of African ancestry, Canaanite stuff. So there's them. There's the Asiatic Afro with the Asianness eyes that look like their eyes are closed when they're in the sun, you know. And high bone cheekbones, mustache, full beard, afro hair, from yellow to dark brown. That's the Asiatic Afro, the Israelite. There's the Hebrew, the Ammonite. There's the Moabite. So there's all kinds. There's the Mongoloids, all up and down, different. The ones in Canada, those are Hittite Indians, Mongoloids, Peruvian. You know, there were Edomites here. So there's many Indians. I mean, you look around, a lot of these African American people you see are different Indian breeds that during slavery were lied to and were told that they were brought two there from Africa, but a lot of them were Native Americans from America or South America. There's many books that'll show you that, and Dumb Diverses, which started in 1452. It was issued in 1452, and they were here in 1490s. So when slavery is 1600s in America, that's because the slavery hit the South America first. Okay? But don't get it twisted, all through the Americas got hit. You may be a Native American, and the way you look tells what tribe you come from. So, you may be looking at these videos and think it's not about you. It has everything to do about you. What state are you in? Huh? Are you doing really, really well? Do you have any of your culture left? Or you adopted somebody else's culture and you think it's your own because you believe it's your own, or you've been lied to believe it's your own? You must do the research and figure this out, because it's there. The information's there. They just know we don't like to read. You want to hide something, you put it in a book. Then what we do, we flock to the TV. What we're doing right now, you're watching me. The end goal here is to take what I say and research on it, and eventually read books. Maybe you can teach. All I'm saying is, we gotta get the facts straight, because we've been lied to about a lot. Alright, that's enough talking.
Expendable to be eliminated. I take you back in your history. After the American Indian hostiles had been subdued and forcibly confined to Indian reservations, it took approximately 30 years, one generation, for us to adjust and become economically viable. Contrary to what the anthropologists say and what we even ourselves are taught as Indian people. However, allotments were made smaller, our remaining lands were open to homesteading, and we were forced into reducing our livestock. Nevertheless, we made the adjustment again in less than half the aforementioned time, 15 years, to become economically self-sufficient again. But once again, the American Indian was forced into reducing our livestock. The boss farmer concept was instituted. We were told what, when, where, how much, and how little we could grow. This applied to agriculture and our livestock. Again, we recovered in a time span of approximately 15 years. We were so successful in our third recovery that the American Indians enjoyed the finest of economic times, while the rest of the industrialized world was wallowing in the Great Depression. It was then that
They always
President
create
Roosevelt
bills and
introduced the
laws that
Holocausts Act,
marginalize
known
and
as the Indian
subjugate
the
you.
IRA, which institutionalized the so-called tribal governments, which are not one of our institutions, and it is still foreign to us this very day.
So just like Hawaii, OHA
We have yet
is
to
our
recover.
institution that works hand in hand with the
45 years
government.
later, the IRA, Indian tribal governments, on their own initiative, began renewed efforts at reestablishing their sovereignty focused on the oldest profession of American Indians. That's gambling. Bingo and other gaming operations has been, without exception, a proven initial success. Failure through mismanagement, politics, or litigation has been less than 15%, showing a better than 85% success rate. The new Indian-sponsored gaming industry on reservations dwarfs success ratios of any and all other non-Indian industries in America. Indian operations have proven to benefit the revenue gathering of all governments, be they county, state, or Indian reservations. With regulation of bingo and gaming by the Congress, we are experiencing repetition of history. One shouldn't remedy success. The results? The United States government, through Congress, once again intervenes to regulate a proven success in violation of all basic and fundamental rules of economics and totally contrary to all the laws of capitalism. American Indians are human beings. We are supposed to be citizens of the United States of America. We fought in your wars in other countries. Our Navajo Nation code talkers served and saved this nation in World War II. We have the inalienable right to joint venture with whom we choose, as long as we do not harm nor commit fraud upon anyone. There is no piece of evidence anywhere that proves Indians ever conspired with criminal elements to establish bingo. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, the infamous colonial office of the Department of Interior, and the initiator of sleaze in government, has been regulating contracting on Indian reservations since 1824. This fact alone should convince and teach every student of government that regulation of commerce and enterprise does not work.
See, that's the thing. First, they attack your livestock, because if you can't feed yourself, what do they go look in your native areas? What do? They attack your farming. They attack your livestock. Then they regulated everything you do. And they regulated in a way where it brought the foreigner in and propped them up. But it took you down. It did not encourage you, and it did not back you. It did not help you in any way. A lot of these laws prevented you. See, you gotta watch. It's tricky. Oh, chicky.
In fact, it only produces the opposite result. Graft and corruption is rampant to the contracting auspices of the BIA and its surrogate tribal government. Indian front contractors bid for and receive government contracts only to proceed to build shoddy, dangerous bridges, buildings, schools, roads, and dams. The Indian is the scapegoat when there is a failure.
Aren't you the scapegoat? The Negro. Aren't you the scapegoat? The American Indian. Aren't you the scapegoat? Oceanic Negro. Are you the scapegoat?
Tribal governments.
Come on,
Within the
guys.
past 2 years, I personally
So we are the
attempted to
scapegoats.
assist 7 Indian reservations located in the Southwest, the Northwest, and the Northern Plains, to no avail. The investors I represented were from various groups interested in establishing banks, resorts, Indian-owned public relation firms, factories, fishing ports, and international trade. I now know that tribal governments do not want economic development unless graft is a major ingredient. The BIA is a major player in land leases being sold by petty bureaucrats for as meager an amount as $40. There is a scandal of monstrous proportions occurring in at least 2 Indian agencies, the BIA's branch of land operations and the branch of realty.
Look at your native organizations. Look at the corruption in your native organizations. They corrupt you morally, and then they attack that.
Not enforce its trust responsibility, quite to the contrary.
Remember, they studied you for hundreds of years.
I moved from the
They know
poorest
how you
county
think.
in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. I paraphrase the former Secretary of the Department of the Interior, James Watt. If you want to see an example of failed socialism, go to an Indian reservation. If you want to see an example of failed socialism, go to an Indian reservation.
Isn't that how it is in all your places? Hawaii, all throughout the Polynesia, all throughout America.
Suffer from identical problems. Mismanagement.
Look at the American Negro, thinks he's from Africa. Identity problems. Look at me, thought I was Mexican, and I'm an Afro-Mexican, an Israelite.
This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
They tell me the Mayans and Aztecs went with aliens, disappeared.
In this case, it is the lack of
We are the descendants.
Ironically, everyone, including you senators, refer to the allegedly elected tribal officials as leaders. Leaders are supposed to work for a better quality of life for their constituents. It is an insult to my heritage, my ancestors, and my dignity as an Oglala Lakota to have the term used loosely. Many of the tribal officials are honest and sincere men and women who have good hearts. Nevertheless, a vast majority of the tribal officials parasite on the incestuous world of tribal politics. Not as our forefathers, who were the best providers, protectors, defenders, advocators, and friends. The game of who is the most important rules. It's embarrassing. At the turn of the century, American Indians numbered about 230,000, all traditional. With each succeeding generation, we lose our population base and our spirit as once proud peoples.
That's how it is.
The American Indian statistics of deprivation
Every generation.
Since the end of World War II. All other groups of citizens, fortunes rise and fall with the gross national product.
Genocide.
GNP. The American Indian statistical line of deprivation remains constant, a straight line. With the blatant genocide of our traditional people, we have less than 50,000 in America today. We are averaging a loss of 1,000 a year since 1900. We are losing a value system as distinct people that sets us apart from the industrialized world. These facts surface in our tribal statistics. No one attempts to do anything about it except for a few social workers and reservation police. This new statistical horror is women and child abuse. Child sexual abuse is epidemic on Indian reservations, and all you hear are whispers. This abuse can be directly attributable to the schools on the reservations. Education in the BIA, public, the contract, and missionary schools do not teach positive values from non-Indian culture, and in collusion with the BIA, certainly do not allow Indian culture and values to be taught.
All right, so let's check this out. So, he's saying the rampant abuse, right? So, you look right here. This right here is Think Progress. Shocking rates of violence and abuse facing Native Americans. So you got, what happened was when they went to school, they were taught to have sex with your family members, to have many partners, get many husbands. They were taught your culture's bad, to do all this heathenistic things and don't be in touch with nature and in touch with God, the Creator. They said, no, you gotta do this way and be who you aren't. And they sent the men to war and they came back messed up. They gave them alcohol. And we have writings of hundreds of years ago, the native chiefs arguing to stop the alcohol because that's ruining their people. And you can see it today. Every people is being ruined by alcohol and abuse and all of this stuff that is just not necessary. Where our minds are just messed up. And We need to help ourselves. We need to fix this. Look. Look. This is a PDF on violence. I mean, in American Indian women residing on American reservations suffer domestic and physical assault at rates far exceeding women of other ethnicities. I mean, it gets deep, got a lot of information. They even talk about how they get longer sentences. Um, they get it's just unfair, because we're in a caste system. And the thing is, we don't understand we're in a caste system. We think everything's all good. Oh, we're American, American. Oh, the world is all good. Everything is done. The future, it's so beautiful. But we're still facing the same problems. We're still getting polluted. We're still getting our foods being tampered with. We're still being murdered. We're still missing. We're still being manipulated in our mind. We're not right, and we need to get right. And we just think it's all good and dandy. So we need to get right.
The fact is, educators continually denigrate American Indian traditional lifestyle as primitive, dirty, and without any redeemable virtues. And the tribal councils condone it. Needless to say, every time the U.S. government has interfered with American Indian lifestyles, it has been proven to be disastrous. In the 1960s, legal services were implemented on Indian reservations. It was a boon for the people. Tribal officials all of a sudden were held accountable. Legal services stepped in, and lo and behold, tribal courts had power through the power of attorney for the people. The result? An edict from Washington, D.C. is handed down, and legal services can no longer represent people against the tribal government, and they can no longer represent class action lawsuits against any government. Presently, legal services are not much more than a mill for divorce lawyer trainees. Congress passed the American Indian Religious Freedom Act in 1978. To date, 6 cases concerning our freedom of religion has reached the Supreme Court. We lost every one of them. We do not win lawsuits. State governments lose. The only time we allegedly win a lawsuit, it is in reality the federal government winning out over the sovereign rights of a state. Once again, the American Indians are the pawn. Now, the major factors presenting American Indian people with their existing rights to self-determination. American Indians suffer under a system of dual citizenship. That is, U.S. citizenship and tribal citizenship maintained by the BIA. The dual citizenship is a major obstacle in the free exercise of individual and tribal sovereignty. The continuing loss and attrition of existing lands through various federal, state, and local laws and/or regulations is a hindrance. The abridgment of sovereign rights to remaining lands and the arbitrary monetary policies of settlement of these rights whenever they are recognized. Another major factor preventing Indian people from self-determination, subjugation of the American Indian individual to the laws of government-sponsored tribal governments, and the continuing arbitration of the BIA rules and regulations which have the force of law, yet are not repealable. Solutions. The American Indian people's right to self-determination is recognized and will be implemented through the following policies. The American Indian individual shall have the right to choose his or her citizenship, and the American Indian nations have the right to choose their level of citizenship and autonomy up to absolute independence. The American Indian will have their just property rights restored, which include rights of easement, access, hunting, fishing, prayer, and water. The BIA will be abolished, with the American Indian tribal members deciding the extent and nature of their governments, if any. Negotiations will be undertaken to exchange otherwise unclaimed and unowned federal property for any and all government obligations to the American Indian nations, and to hold fully liable those responsible for any and all damages which have resulted from the resource development on or near reservation lands, including damages done by careless and inexcusable disposal of uranium mill tailings and other mineral and toxic wastes.
So
I want to thank you, gentlemen, for inviting me here. It's been a high honor, especially since I'm the only one invited here today to testify that doesn't receive money from the federal government. Also, I want to I was introduced as a former founder and leader of the American Indian Movement to the tribal chairwomen that you have here, our former associates with the American Indian Movement back in the days when we were gross militants. And so I just wanted to let you in on that. The American Indian Movement is a very proud, continuing part of American Indian society. I thank you.
Mr. Means, thank you. You certainly have left us with many provoking.
alright, forget that, fool. Congress. Alright, so that's a lot of things to bite on. That's a lot of information that we gotta. Okay, so first off, Negro, Afro-Mexican, Native American, so-called black man, you are the Native American. You need to figure this out. You need to claim your sovereignty. You need to register all the things you need to do, get with it. You need to clear your mind of all this fake, this and that. You're Egyptian, but you light skin. Egyptians were really dark. Okay? So, first off, these Indians are going through a lot of trouble. So we're going to look at nuclear uranium poisoning, missing Native Americans missing, things that plague them, and then we're going to go look at a few other stuff. So let's go get it.